Here. Hess.
Here.
Brock.
Here.
Wenger.
Thank you, Ann. Now we'll move on to Pledge Allegiance.
Flags to the back corner.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to the adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Support.
Motion made by Dave,
Sorry.
second by Brenda.
Sorry, I did too. Oh, we're off to a good start, aren't we?
All right.
Okay,
So Dave motion, Brenda support. Is that okay?
Okay, either way, whatever.
Any discussion? Okay. Motion carries. Approval of the agenda. What?
You have to say all. You have to
All in favor? So sorry.
Yep.
Say aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
This could be a little bit today.
Fine, you're doing good.
Moving on to public communication. We have some recognition today, which is super exciting. We have 2 student athletes today, 2 divers in attendance, and our athletic director, Mr. Hammer, I think has a few words to say.
Yes, and before we get started here, why don't we as a board go up and stand in front?
Alrighty. Got to talk into a microphone. Normally I don't do that. I'm going to invite Lydia, come on up. I don't think Abby was able to make it. And I know that their coach, Mr. Todd Bates, would love to be here. I know he's actually at a diving competition right now. So the unique part about diving is that their coach can actually coach multiple teams from other schools because of the, well, quite frankly, when you guys are diving, there's a lot of times I'm doing this just because of how close sometimes their body or head gets to the diving board. So that obviously the difficulty of what they're doing is really lends itself to making sure we've got a good coach in place. So that's why he's able to coach multiple teams. But they had a wonderful season this year, fantastic. Just a few highlights for you. 8th at regionals for Abby. I know she's not here, but 8th at regionals, which was at East Kentwood. And then placed 20th at state. We are Division I, so that is the top level of swim and dive in the state, so that's amazing. Abby did learn some new dives. I'm just looking at some cheat sheets from Coach Bates that he sent me. Did learn some new dives and had some PRs over the season, so she did a great job as well. And Lydia placed 5th at regionals, which was amazing, and then 22nd at state, and that was at Eastern Michigan University, which is a beautiful facility down there. Lydia broke the school record for the 11 dive record twice, which is pretty amazing. So there you go. Which also she achieved 2 All-American minimum dive scores for consideration. So those are still for consideration as far as I know. And then, of course, won the conference meet and earned all conference. So Lydia had a fantastic season. Both of them did, and it was fun going to watch them, especially at regionals, which was really exciting, and then down at state. So, yeah, congratulations. They're going to shake your hand as you go through.
Okay, next up, we have Frank Fiala from the Berry County Solid Waste Commission and Catherine Getty here to talk about Coach Doc and his team and thank them for the work that they did for them. So I'm going to let you come up.
Frank Fiala from the Berry County Road Commission, and as a road commissioner, I represent that group as a commissioner on the Solid Waste Oversight Group. Because we have a landfill in the county, there's state legislation that requires we have an oversight group that oversees that and other solid waste, including recycling. So we've been at this for a while doing a number of things. And we have a kind of a premier event that will, a couple people on that. Catherine Getty serves on that as a county commissioner, serves on the committee. There's a dozen people. Craig Stolzenberg representing the village, myself, the road commission, and there are city managers and a number of other people from the solid waste industry that represent that. We have a kind of a premier event at the Berry County Expo Center, the fairgrounds, twice a year, where the intent of that is to keep hazardous things that would go in the landfill and get them recycled and appropriately handled. And we have just very, very large volumes of that. When I first got involved about 15 years ago with this, we hired a consultant. About 3% of the things that could be recycled in this county were being recycled. The rest was all going in the landfill. And if you just see any place in the country or up by Grand Rapids or the various places, Chicago, just gigantic things have gone in the landfill. So our whole goal is that. And then there's now some current legislation requiring updating the plan. A plan was put together here in this county in 1992, last updated in 1999. And it includes recycling and all the things that we do, including the thing we do at the Expo Center. So we're working hard on that. We're going to create a new plan now. We're getting funding from the state and a couple grants we've got. Just lots of exciting things going on with recycling. So our premier event that we do very, very well, better than most counties in the state, is at the Expo Center, where we bring all these things in. We have very large volumes. I'll just rattle off a couple of them. We brought in 41,000 pounds in total of recycled things that we kept from going in the landfill this year. And there was 17,000 pounds of electronics, the TVs and the kind of things that come in. 4,500 scrap tires, 5,800 pounds of used motor oil, 8,000 pounds of little small batteries. I don't know if you ever put those in a bucket and tried to lift them, that we do there quite a bit there. And just 905 pounds of narcotics and sharps, needles, that kind of thing that we collect, keep from going in the landfill. And having run that for a number of years, the biggest challenge we have are in two areas. One is the tires. Think about it. We have 3 semis there. We need to weave them in and get them in. We count tire equivalents, have to keep track of that, and that's just been a real challenge. Many of the people are older than some of our younger folks here, like myself, and we get up in that trailer and water runs off our nose and a number of things there. So we've really needed help with that. The other is electronics that we're pretty active in. Some people bring TVs in, those old TVs that are as wide as from me to you and about that high and very, very heavy. And some of the old people, just older people, just don't do as well. So we've reached out, and Jeff Dock and his crew have come in to help us with the tires and electronics. Just phenomenal. Just picked up the attitude of the entire event. We're just so very, very happy with that. They get lined up, and multiple coaches have come in, just all an energetic thing. I've seen some of the fellows with 2 tires on each arm and carrying those things and slinging them, and we can barely lift one, some of us. So just want to extend just sincere thanks. That community service and helping us with that event, just all good stuff. It's just absolutely the right thing to do, and we just thank you very much for all that support, and thank you, Jeff, for all the things you personally do. Thank you.
We've got Abby Dumond. Here you go, Abby.
Thank you.
So, Abby, I already talked about your accomplishments, but we talked about the fact that you were 8th at regionals and 20th at state, and the fact that you set some new PRs for yourself. And the other good news is they're both young, and we get them back again. So it's really cool. So congratulations.
Congratulate you by having
Yes. There you go.
Oh, you're right. I jumped way ahead. Coach Doc, you brought a student here if you want to.
Well, Drake was our main guy talking about the weaves inside the truck. This is the guy who took control of all of that. So not only is he a great student, not only is he a great football player, but he can handle tires too. So he was a huge reason of the success at the tire event. So we were happy to help, and hopefully the partnership continues. So we appreciate it. So Yeah.
Great job. Apologize for jumping ahead. Okay, and while we are all up here, it is not very often in this day and age where you have a long-term employee, somebody that sticks around in an organization for an extended period of time. But tonight I want to recognize Diane Knight. She's an exemplary employee. She is completing her 40th year and is retiring in just a couple of weeks. So I want to thank you, Diane, for all you've done for TK schools, the children of the community, and the staff members. So I'm going to make you walk the golf course. I'm sure a couple of you have stories about that.
Keep those to yourself.
Okay, thank you very much for all you've done, Diane. Okay. What's that? Yes, feel free to exit if you've been recognized and you want to head out.
All right. Moving on to public communication. According to the Board of Education policy, the Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on district matters. Members of the public may address the Board of Education during public comment for up to 3 minutes. Speakers will be recognized by the presiding officer and are asked to state their name, address, and group affiliation if applicable. As a reminder, all comments shall be directed to the board and not staff or other participants. No participant may speak more than once. Participants may not behave in a manner that is disruptive to the orderly conduct of the meeting. The Board of Education does not respond to public comment, but the superintendent will follow up with speakers when appropriate. At this time, we will begin public comment. We don't have cards today, so if there's anyone that would like to speak, the podium is yours.
All right, thanks, Chris. All right, David Lonsma, Yankee Springs Township, live on Payne Lake Road. First of all, I want to thank you all for all you do on this board. Wish you a good evening and also a happy holiday. Merry Christmas to all of you. My only comment has to do with going back a couple months to the consideration of the second comment, public comment, my disappointment that it was not more deeply considered. We will continue to raise that. We think it's an important point on the agenda that the public have an opportunity to make a comment at the end of the meeting after they have heard the business of the evening. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Second time. Anyone else would like to speak? All right, closing public comment. Moving on to consent grouping. Board, please remember any consent grouping item can be removed for separate consideration by board member request. All consent grouping items will be adopted in one motion with a roll call vote. I'm looking for a motion to approve items of the consent grouping.
I'll move we approve the consent grouping as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Ann, seconded by Derek. Any discussion? Ann, could you do a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Huson.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Hess.
Yes.
Brock.
Yes.
Hamming. Yes. Wenger.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to board items for information. First up, we are going to be discussing high school course proposal and AP seminar. Oh, I thought it was going to be Kim, but I guess we have a guest. All right.
I'm going to just introduce Carrie Saxton and Tony Peterson here from the high school. But Carrie is behind bringing this proposal for AP seminar to you. I just want to thank the work that she's done, and I hope that you enjoy listening to a little bit more about this proposal for a course that we're bringing to you. One of our challenges has been to bring more AP opportunities to our high school students to increase that opportunity for rigor
Thank you. Yes, I come tonight with a proposal for a new course called AP Seminar. It is truly a unique AP course in that it is probably the most interdisciplinary offering that AP College Board offers. What that means is that instead of having a discipline-specific focus like AP Calculus or AP Literature, it is a course on what I kind of have come to understand as like college study skills. It's focused on helping students build the academic skills they'll need in higher education. And in other words, and the more I learn about it, it truly is it's a class that I think anybody would be really glad to take before they go to college. It sounds really vague when you first hear about it, because it's definitely more about skills necessarily than content. And the skills that the students will be engaged in the class are essentially a lot of research, a lot of questioning, a lot of wondering what it is that's going on in our world and investigating questions that they themselves have. They will be, finding this research. They will be helped by me, who will be sort of modeling the process and helping them learn how to be critical readers and thinkers. They're going to synthesize that information and then write about it and present about it. And again, I know that sounds kind of vague and kind of simple, but truly the beauty of the course is that the students can really populate it with their own interests, their own things that they're curious about. So I don't know if you have read the course proposal, but I gave some examples in there. Essentially, if a student was really interested in agriculture, they could look up, or not just look up, they could research, why it is that we have a shortage of pollinators in the world these days. If a kid was really interested in electric cars, they could look up, or they could research the process of mining the minerals to make the batteries, right? So the point of it is, too, I am not really a content expert in terms of delivering that content, but rather I'm sort of a guide helping them know the ropes of the research process. So like how to get on the databases and how to go to Google Scholar and how to hone their research questions and all that jazz. So there is no textbook. The world is kind of our textbook. The only cost for the program is a week-long training that I'll have to attend with the College Board. But essentially, it'll just be me guiding students through a year-long inquiry of their own design. So I don't know if that... Are there any questions?
Yeah,
What do you wonder?
Well, I wonder because, and I wish I had this in my own life, but how much does the course develop their abilities to organize, because they're going to compile vast amounts of information, how to organize it so they can accurately cite it, go back to it. They're going to accumulate data and things over a year. How do they
Absolutely.
learn that?
And I think that's really, again, the beauty of it is because it's not like we have all these content goals to meet. It's not like we have to talk about the periodic table or anything. That is not the imperative. The imperative is getting them to practice those skills and absolutely hone their organization skills, their synthesis skills, right? Taking a large body of diverse perspectives. Because I forgot to say this, but that's another real good thing about it is it's not a kid just being like, ooh, I have this one point of view, I'm going to research this one point. It's them researching every point of view that has to do with what they're talking about and really trying to figure out what do I think and what makes sense to me and what's accurate out there. So anyway, yes. It's a lot about the organization of the information that they find, and then how to package that back out into a paper or a presentation.
And will they be able to access enough databases, like through universities or?
Yes, and through our library, we have a good database system, and then I have in the past also had my students use obviously our library loan system, but then MELCAT, which is the Michigan library loan system, which is just phenomenal. You can get a book from any library in the state of Michigan delivered for free to our library. So we'll definitely be taking them up on that. Yeah.
Carrie, do you see students that are not college-bound taking this course? So I think like a kid that's going into welding or something along that lines? It's pretty much anyone, right?
Yes, anybody can take it. It's going to be an elective, so it's not even really tied to a a specific discipline. So they'll take it for an elective credit, I'm not sure, yeah. But truly, anyone who's like just curious and wants to learn and read and talk about it. So I can see it having a really wide appeal.
Cool, very cool. Any other?
Carrie, do you have a vision for how long the paper would be? Or the requirement for the length of a paper, or the length of a presentation a student would give?
Yes.
After a year's long of research?
Yes, so there are specific performance tasks outlined by the College Board. So we'll do like mini versions of that to sort of stair-step them up. But the College Board themselves have pretty strict requirements for what they are requiring to give, to kind of allow them to get that college credit. There's a team presentation and project that they're going to do, which is also accompanied by an individual research report, which I think, I just read it earlier today, but there's I feel like it's 2,000 words? Yeah, 2,000 words. Then there's also an individual research-based essay, which is a little bit longer than that, a presentation. So there's definitely like really strict guidelines
Gotcha.
from the College Board.
Gotcha.
So there is opportunity for college credit?
Yes, yes. So if they, it's kind of interesting too, because so much of it is going to be graded by me. I think that's why they're making me go to this week-long training. So I get to have say over whether they pass sort of like the presentation aspects. But if they, again, they kind of keep the metrics for what passes and what doesn't a secret. But if you get a 3 or higher in AP Seminar, and then you get a 3 or higher in AP Research, which is the next one, stay tuned, you get what's called the AP Capstone Diploma, and you look really great to colleges who are considering your application. So it doesn't really apply to an actual college course, but it does give them that diploma status.
I'm curious too, what supports are there for you? Because I could see a kiddo turning in a physics project, and I'm just like, wow, how do you know?
Well, I'm a jack of all trades, you know. Not really. The good thing is because they are sort of doing the process right in front of me, they're reading the research right in front of me. I mean, I assume I'll be learning right alongside them, so. And plus, I think, you know, when you write a research paper like they're going to, it should be in terms that most people can understand. You know, it shouldn't be super duper technical. I hope. We'll see. Yeah, I think it'll be fine.
That's cool.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Cool. Thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome.
That's exciting. Next up is committee and liaison reporting. I don't know if we had any committees outside of policy.
You're right, we did not. The policy committee met on November 29th. We're going to address policy a little bit later in the meeting. We did not have a construction meeting, but I want to give you just a quick little update. First of all, if you're not aware, the timeline for the completion of the pool has been pushed back. We're now estimating that the pool will be completed closer to spring break. There's a few critical path things that were not aligned, and therefore we needed to adjust things and move that finish date back. Second, the requests for proposals for our 2024 summer work have been out. Last week, we had a pre-bid meeting on Tuesday to discuss the scope of the work. Contractors were then given the opportunity to go around the district and look at our parking lots and service drive and all of those things that we're looking at to repave next summer. And bids are due next week on the 20th. Is that right, Chris? Yep. So, and then finally today, we just heard that hopefully at the end of this week, our permits will come in from the state for our storage building. So that's a quick synopsis of where we are with all of our construction right now.
What about 3rd Street? Do you have an update on 3rd Street?
Well, 3rd Street is actually complete.
Good.
Our exit, that's a good question. Yeah. So our exit has a layer of asphalt on it, but when they did the base, it sat for 3 days before we could actually get the asphalt on it, and we had several days of rain, which then impacted the base. So that we're going to utilize that over the course of the winter, and then in the spring they're going to come back in and redo that.
That would be a good thing that the rain made it settle, because that
Yeah.
impacts it even more.
Right. Yep. Yeah. So,
They will be out within the next 3 days to put a layer on it to protect the curbs and the
Yeah.
hole. I don't know if you've looked at it. but
No,
yeah,
We couldn't run a plow down it. So
Right.
they will be doing a
Mhm.
little bit
Yeah.
more just in case.
right. All right, good question, thank you. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Moving on to board items for action. First up, we have the Thornapple Area Parks and Recreation Commission Board Member. I don't know if
No, I will take that.
You or Ann will
Yeah,
take that.
Right, so, so as of December 31st, we are going to have an opening on the TAPRC board. As a result, it was necessary for us to post this position. It's been done in the past. Our first step was to send an email to staff seeking their interest. We heard verbally from 2 candidates, neither formally applied for the role in writing by our internal deadline. Therefore, we posted the open position on AppleTrack, which is our normal job posting site, with a December 4th deadline seeking interest from the community members, and staff could still apply at that time. This year, we took an additional step, and we put the ad out in the Sun and News. So this process generated a total of 4 candidates, 2 internal and 2 external. The internal candidates were the same individuals who expressed their interest verbally. The candidate information was in your board packets, and so now we're at a point where if you've looked at that information, if we have a board member that's interested in bringing somebody forward as a candidate for that role, we'd like to hear that.
Well, Craig, I would like to speak to that as our liaison to the TAPRC board. I talked about this with Catherine over the weekend, and I discussed with Craig too that Catherine and I were of the mindset that Damon Cove checks a lot of the boxes, checks all the boxes. Again, I believe we've benefit greatly as a district by making our first choice be staff members, because it's really paid off. They bring a lot of energy, they bring a lot of skills and talents to the table. And again, as I've said before, we need well-rounded talents. If we had the entire board loaded up with coaches, it would be kind of a one-sided, lopsided deal. And some of the other things like the community events, the social media, the grant application, some of those kinds of things, just require a well-rounded skill set at the board table. And so I think to continue the track record, the great experience that we've had with appointing board members, he would bring youth and energy. And the last thing too is he is on the Freeport Village Council. Damon Cove, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's on the Freeport Village Council, so he would also bring in some ties that could strengthen ties with Freeport. We use their fields. I don't foresee a day where the Sheridan Fields will be done here in the near future, and so I think it's important to build those connections and keep those deep ties with, and to build them with the Freeport community, and because it's worked out well. Once people get used to the drive there, that it has been a good working partnership that would be strengthened, I think, with going that route.
Can I ask a question? So we have 4 applicants listed in our board packet. One of those really shouldn't be considered, correct? Because it was a late entry? Missed the deadline, is that true or not?
Yes.
The application came in after the deadline that we had set,
So
yes.
I guess I need to know, are we considering that or not? Because that would be 2 school employees, and that's usually where we go first, is the school employees versus outside the school. So if we had 2 internals, I think those should be up for consideration first. And if we're not considering the one, I think it's pretty black and white, but I want to make sure we're not considering the one.
Well, that is the board call at this point in time. I provided you with all the information, and one individual did pass the deadline for application.
Yeah.
So that's probably our discussion.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the deadlines are the deadlines. And Mr. McCarthy, too, when he shared with Catherine and me and our, the TAPRC co-directors, he didn't even include that second staff member because that staff member missed the deadline. It was only because one of the co-directors mentioned this fourth candidate. Otherwise, that fourth candidate, that second staff member wouldn't even have gotten into the board packet if, I think, Craig's instinct was a deadline's a deadline is correct. And I agree. We have to take them seriously, even for, volunteer positions like this, so.
Well, I'd say I personally don't have a problem with considering the late applicant, very qualified person, and I don't have a problem with it. I'd also say that one of the other applicants, while not an employee in the district, coached in the district for 25 years. So I think that speaks very highly of him as well. So, so while I'm not recommending one over the other or a particular candidate at this time, I think it would be good if we each had an opportunity to share maybe a couple of candidates that we think are worth considering, and then we can see who rises to the top from that.
Anyone else have any?
Yeah, I agree with Dave. I mean, technically, the internal candidates both missed the first initial deadline, and then the two candidates that were outside the school, I mean, the item was posted in the Sun and News for, 8 days before the application deadline? Seemed like they moved a little bit quicker to be considered than possibly the two internal candidates. So I don't see a reason to throw out the late applicant. So I agree with Dave on that.
Oh, and just to be clear, the two internal applicants, well before the internal deadline,
Yeah.
did express verbally that they were
Verbally.
interested.
Yep.
Just
Yep.
had not gone through the process of applying.
So we can do that. I just want to make sure that we're all in agreement that we're going to consider all four of them. Everyone? Yes.
Works for me.
Everyone's
Yep.
saying yes. Brenda? Ann?
Well,
You're a no.
I'm like, a deadline, I mean, well,
We've been here before,
Yeah,
so I'm
yeah.
with you, is that we didn't consider it last time it was late, so.
When the person expressed verbally their interest, even though the paperwork didn't show up until 2 days later, or 2 days late, I think that expressing it verbally is sufficient for me.
So I am an employer, I hire people, and if they don't apply by the deadline, they can tell me they want to have the job, but if they didn't apply, I don't consider them. So that's kind of where I'm at, is that if the application wasn't in, I have no problem considering the other three. And I wish she had, right? Because I think she'd be
Right.
great on this board.
yeah,
It's very unfortunate.
yeah, I agree. Yeah, she would be a great board member, and so,
So we're dead in the water if 3 of us think
Okay.
she should be considered and 3 of us think she shouldn't, because there's 6 of us here tonight.
Should we ask the question whether or not initially we want to look at TK staff member first? If that, is that a question that the board, wants
I think
to-
that's a good consideration of to see where if we can get past this impasse.
Right.
With some other
Yeah.
some other
Right.
criteria.
Yeah.
Personally, I love the fact that, 2 TK actually employees actually want to be a part of it. Because last time we went out there, there was nothing, right? So I'm super happy that two are out there. With that being said, the 4 that are out here, I, first of all, look at like their credentials in the community and such. And I know two of the candidates they have kids that are part of the TAPRC already, which I think that's very valuable, sitting on the board, giving insight back to the board on their experiences during the seasons and such. And then Dan Plug, I mean, I don't know if you would call him an employee for many years, coached myself in football, has been a servant to this community for a long time. So I think he, for sure, I just see like, those are my criteria of, hey, do you have kids that are impacted? And then I know someone like Dan has given many, many years. And I'm sure Damon has too, but that wealth of experience, I think, would be very insightful on the board. But that's my personal thought to possibly get past the impasse.
Yeah, frankly, I think we're blessed to have four
Oh, man.
excellent
Yeah.
candidates.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Totally,
Absolutely.
totally.
Yep.
We
Yeah.
can all agree on
You know,
that.
it's hard to discount any of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right, yeah,
Yep.
they're all,
would agree.
any of these individuals would be able to do it. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, we're blessed with some good candidates
And I think Dan
here.
Plug has played softball on every single field in Michigan.
He loaded up with ideas, yeah. All right, so,
Brenda, do you have anything? I'm sorry not to call you out, but.
I just feel like we have the strongest tie with somebody that's actually employed by the district, and that is the direction I would like to take. And I also think that person is young, and they have ideas, and they have links to Freeport, and Freeport has, fields and things we could utilize there. And I've heard people mention that they would like other things just besides softball and baseball. They would like things for other activities too. So this person might, have some ideas that we haven't considered. So that's where I stand.
So do we want to each put one forth and see the number that talk about it?
I like the idea of each of us selecting our top two candidates and then see who rises to the top through that process first. And then when we see who the top two candidates are, then we could choose from the top two. We've used that kind of a process in other situations that are similar to this, and so I think that has merit. But if we each just throw out one name, then I think it might discount somebody from being considered who might otherwise be considered.
could I ask for tidying it? I think we did have the question of, are we first criteria going to first consider the school? Is that a higher priority in the view of I think, because if we are settled on that, then we narrow it from 4 to 2. And, you know what I'm saying? So, because when I was hearing Derek, I sounded like Derek would ordinarily prefer a school person, but since neither of them met the school internal posting deadline, I'm hearing you say, oh, let's open it up. Or it kind of makes them all equal of all 4. But Brenda's saying, has a preference for school staff. I prefer school staff. They have more skin in the game. And in my time on the board, staff members have contributed their share and more as a board member.
So I'm where it's a TK appointed position. I'd like for it to be an employee. If we have 2 employees, I'd like for it to be an employee. That's my preference.
I hear what you're saying, Ann, about the TK staff and possibly more skin in the game, but, I believe when we started, Brenda, Tyler, and myself in January, we had 2 TK employees coming off because of the amount of hours required and such. At least that's how I understood it.
Yep.
So I know the school at times can demand a lot with other things and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why I think all 4 should just be considered equally, but my opinion.
Just to clarify that comment, Derek, you're right. Both Nick Iveson and Brian Hammer came off the board. They're still there as advisors.
Advisory, yep.
And part of that change was, for like example, Brian Hammer, we have so many school athletic activities
Yes.
taking place.
Yeah.
With TAPRC taking place at the same time, he could not be in 2 places at once.
Yep.
So I think it might be different for his role than either the other 2 candidates.
Sure.
But,
Yeah.
Yeah. that would-
Nick,
for sure.
Nick what was his role in the school at the time?
He's a baseball
baseball
coach,
coach.
Baseball
the
coach, yeah.
varsity baseball
Yep.
coach. So,
Yeah.
And teacher.
And so yeah, if they hadn't been coaches, obviously they would have stayed.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. Well, would Dave? Do you want to put it forth at all 4 or just?
I think all 4 should be considered, and I think the problem is, how do we narrow it down?
Well, this is not what I
Ty has
expected
been-
today,
that's
but Ty has been super quiet.
Well, you look at the stipulations of it being a school employee. I do agree with that. The problem is we have 4 very capable
we have opposite ends of the spectrum. You got Dan that probably wouldn't be that strong on social media, but Damon would be really good at that. So there's a lot to consider here, and I think Dan's put in a lot of time over the years. So we do have to consider some of that community involvement and that, you know, breadth of depth along with that position. And it's okay to consider some young talent as well to kind of complement that. So I just want to have a good mix on that board to keep moving it forward.
There's only one opening though, so we got to figure out.
There's one opening right now,
You
yeah.
know, and I hear what you're saying and I agree.
It's hard because it's school candidate and then there's
Right.
external
Yeah.
candidates and
Yeah.
they're very qualified. So.
Right, and that too, the breadth and the depth was something that Catherine and I talked about. And again, not acknowledging that all of them bring many talents to the board, and just feeling like again, that kind of is what brought me back around to Damon. And again, to me, the application deadline, kind of spoke like, I try to pick the easiest criteria to narrow down the field and the least, and then take what you have left. And so that was, but again, we won't go wrong with any of these candidates. They'll all be an asset to the,
So,
yeah.
conscious of time, I think we're all going to give 2 names. I will record, will you as well, Ann, so I don't miss something? And then we'll go back around and narrow it down from there. Does that sound good?
Sure.
Okay. Can I start this side going this way?
Sure.
Please.
Yeah. I would say Dan Plug and Kelly. Is it Wenger? A little different?
Wagner. Yeah. Thank you. Brenda.
I'm going to say Cove and Plug.
Okay. Ann?
Cove and, gosh, Kelly.
I would be Damon, and since Kelly was late, it would be Dan.
Okay.
Dave?
Dan Plug and Kelly Wegner.
And Ty?
I will go Dan and Cove.
Okay.
Okay.
Math is not my specialty.
Unless I'm wrong, we've got 4 votes for Damon,
Yep.
3 votes for Kelly,
Yep.
0 for Derek, and 5 for Dan.
That's what I have too.
Okay.
Yep, that's what I arrived at too.
So then it narrows it down to Dan and Damon. And I think you have to weigh the merits of those 2 candidates.
All right, I'm going to start this way this time. Ty?
What pressure. I think we have to go Cove in that situation.
Okay. Thank you. Dave?
I would say Dan.
Okay. I'm going with Cove.
I'm going with Cove.
Ann says Cove. Brenda?
I'm voting for Cove.
Brenda says Cove. Derek?
Dan.
Dan. 4 for Cove and 2 for Dan. I think it's interesting we switch around last names and first names. Screwed me off my
No,
account.
I know, that's right. I know, that's right.
I wrote whatever you said.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm looking for a motion then, because we have Damon would have received the most votes from us, and Dan second.
Okay. If you're ready for
I'll motion that we select Damon Cove as our representative.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Dave and a second by Ty. I do not think this is roll call, is it?
Correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, guys.
And honestly, I would have been happy with any of the 4.
Amen.
I like to see a,
Totally.
It was a good process.
yes, I appreciate it. I appreciate the dialogue. Good open discussion. All right, moving on to new hire. We have a new hire of a social worker.
Yes, and the important thing about this is that this is a new general education social worker. We do have social workers throughout the district, but the vast majority of them are assigned to work with special education students. So we're bringing forward Rachel Shoemaker as our candidate for the social worker position.
So I had one question. I don't see that she is licensed? Limited licensed. Right? Limited master's. Never mind, just kidding.
Okay.
They just need an LMSW for this, correct? They
Yeah.
don't need a, okay.
Right.
All right.
So I guess we're just looking for a motion to,
I'll motion that the Board of Education approve Rachel Shoemaker for employment for the 2023-2024 school year.
I'll support.
I have a motion by Derek and a support by Brenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries.
okay, we're on to the purchase of student technology devices. And Chris, if you want to.
This is really just a continuation of last month. The board approved elementary after-school devices. We went back and we went to place the order and we needed 57 more Chromebooks that we passed. So the amount is $13,338, which typically is not something we would bring for board action. Doesn't meet the threshold, but in aggregate, it increases that amount. So this is just to get that right, so we make sure that each student that qualifies for a device, K through 3,
Bless you.
Bless you.
Thank you. Whew. Thank you. Sorry. We're looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion that the Board of Education
Yeah,
approve the
thank you.
purchase of additional Chromebooks as presented for an amount not to exceed $13,338.
I'll support.
Motion by Ty, support by Derek. I think it's a roll call vote. Ann?
Yes,
So
it
sorry.
is. Yes, bless you. Okay. Wenger,
yes.
Rock,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Hammond, yes, Smith,
Yes.
Husid.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Next up is resolution calling special May election.
I've informed you about this special election in May, a couple of different communications, but I'm going to let Chris run through. He's got a couple of slides that he was going to go over with you. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is just a renewal of a tax levy that the district has carried for quite a long time, and all public school
we'll-
districts do. So, let me jump ahead here. So basically, this is the non-homestead millage renewal. And just to get a quick two-slide background on what this is, I can see that these are a little bit out of order. So public schools must levy 18 mills of property tax on all non-homestead, non-primary residence properties in the district. So again, if you're not familiar with this, these are businesses, investment properties, vacation homes, and rental properties. So this is a tax that's been levied already and is in place. The cost to a principal residence, if you're just living in your own primary home here in the district, does not impact you, okay? If it doesn't pass, it won't impact you. If it does pass, it will impact you as far as what your tax bill looks like each year. So what's really interesting and what really matters to the district is we really can't function without this tax revenue, okay? So I put here, and it's really hard to see on the screen, and I don't have it on my computer either, so really it would be a matter of 3 years before the district really, this is our general fund, went into fiscal stress and then was a deficit district. And the reason for that is, not to get too far in the weeds on it, this is about $3.8 million that we receive right now. So when I talk to you about the foundation allowance, we receive $9,608 for each pupil that attends the district. What the state of Michigan does is they know how much of this revenue, this 18 mil non-homestead revenue we receive, and we get that from the townships and villages, and then the state aid fund makes up the rest, okay, to get us to that 9608. Well, the state of Michigan is not going to get us this $3.8 million if we don't pass this levy. We just won't get it. And so that's why you can see our fund balance is $7.8 million going right across until 2025 when this would fall off if it didn't pass. And then it would go down incrementally by about that $3.84 million per year until we just didn't have any money in the general fund anymore. So it paints a pretty stark picture, but that's the long and the short of what this would do and what the tax is. I'm sure I've missed things, and Craig can fill in, but this is the first step in the process. We need the board to approve the resolution to call this election, and then Craig and I plan on throughout the winter and early spring months, have some community forums and some communication days to further, explain what this is and what it means to anybody that listens. So, what did I miss?
Just want to reiterate that it's, whether or not it passes, it's not going to impact your primary residents, and it really is going to impact businesses and second homes, vacation homes, that type of thing. So,
And it'll only continue to impact them as it already has been.
Right.
right, yeah, it is not an increase, it's just a renewal.
I think it's really important we educate our community on this.
We
That's
absolutely
what- yeah,
have to.
right.
Yep. Craig and I have both done this before, and it's imperative, just to
Yeah.
get people to understand, we're not touching your taxes. But we all want to live in a district, or in a community that has a strong school district like this one, so it is very, very important.
Any other questions? Any questions? Okay. I'll make the motion then. The Board of Education adopt the resolution calling the special election as presented.
Support?
Dave? I made the motion and Dave supported. I think it's a roll call vote.
Yes, it is. Smith,
Yes.
Hamming, yes. Wenger,
Yes.
Brock,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Huson.
Yes. Motion carries. Moving on to board policies. So the Board Policy Committee met to review in detail the latest policy updates from Neola. The updates include policies from, and you guys have those in your packet here, Volume 37, Number 2, Special Update on Tobacco and Special Update on Technology, as well as Volume 38, Number 1, and a new policy on opioid antagonists. The full board has received these updates and has had the opportunity to review the revisions recommended by the Policy Committee. Tonight, we're approving these policies for first reading. Are there any questions from the board members about the policies presented? No discussion. Okay. Then we're looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion that the Board of Education approve board policies, Volume 37, Number 2, Volume 37, Tobacco, Volume 37, Technology, Volume 38, Number 1, and Policy 5330.02, opioid and antagonists for first reading.
I'll second.
We want you to say it again. It's a roll call, Ann.
Yeah, actually, Erica, it's marked as a or nay, but it has to be a roll call, doesn't it? Not for policy, okay. Then you can just
Oh, I
call
missed
it.
that, sorry.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Motion carries. All right. Mr. McCarthy.
Yes. So at your board seat, you each have a green packet containing a disciplinary recommendation for student number 2324-02, age 15, a ninth grader. The packet includes circumstances that were considered in this recommendation, the high school administration's recommendation for expulsion for the remainder of the school year, and conditions that must be met in order for this student to return to school next year. The packet also includes the student handbook and board policies that have been violated, along with numerous attempts by the administration to contact and work with the student's parents. In addition to the packet, there is a Board of Education resolution for student discipline recommendation. Please know we don't take this lightly, but it is the recommendation to expel this student for the remainder of the 23-24 school year.
Any discussion or any questions? I was wondering if there's any questions.
Let's see. Just trying.
Everyone had a chance to read this when they, okay. Yes. So we're looking for a motion.
I'll motion that we expel student 2324-02 for the remainder of the 2023-2024 school year and adopt the student discipline resolution as presented.
I'll second. So motion made by Dave, seconded by Houston, and I think it's a roll call vote.
Yes, it is. Hess,
Yes.
Brock,
Yes.
Wenger,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Huson,
Yes.
Hamming, yes.
Thank you, motion carries. Nothing. You're up
No,
again.
that's the worst part of this job, is having to do something like that, so, yeah. Yep, quick superintendent report. Wednesday night, just a reminder, is special board meeting for my annual evaluation. As a reminder, I have asked for this to be conducted in closed session. And so that meeting will start at 6 o'clock, and we will have a light meal for the board here. The other thing, Merry Christmas to everybody, and Happy New Year. I'm looking forward to a little bit of downtime with family and friends. Hopefully you all get that as well. And hopefully everybody has a safe, restful, and relaxing holiday season. So,
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy. Any board comments before we adjourn? I wish you all a very Merry Christmas as well. All right, thanks. We are adjourned at 7:56. I want everyone to tell Matt that this is done before 8 o'clock.
Yes.